Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, what's up, Las Vegas? It is the Vegas Take. Glad you could join us. Hump Day on a Wednesday, baby. Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, glad you could be here. Sharp and Shapiro. A lot to get to today. Some exclusive interviews, some great guests. We'll get to that. Also joining us in studio, it is Wednesday. That meaning it is Chris Wynn, C-Winning Wednesdays. He joins us in studio as well, Chris. And we got a nice show lined up for you today. Coming up here in hour number 2, an exclusive interview. Kobe Bryant's former helicopter pilot, private pilot. He was his private pilot from 2015 to 2017. His name is Kurt Dietz. He also knew personally the pilot who lost his life among 8 others that killed Kobe Bryant and his daughter. So we're going to talk to him about that. We're going to talk to him about those conditions and the pressure of flying someone that high profile of a client. Could that affect your judgment? I'm going to ask him those questions because it certainly appears to me that's exactly what took place here. And I know the investigation is ongoing, and I understand that we still need all the facts out there, but one can make a general conclusion right now that this was pilot error and that he made some decisions that he shouldn't have made, maybe partly due to the fact that a high-profile client like Kobe Bryant was in that chopper. So we'll talk to Kobe's former pilot coming up in hour number 2. Hour number 3, it's opening statements in the Michael Avenatti case involving Nike. We are going to have Larry Neumeister. He's an AP reporter who's covering the case in the courtroom. He'll be joining us in hour number 3 as well. And I know UNLV fans and Las Vegas fans will love to hear the fact that we are going to be bashing Coach Mike Krzyzewski in hour number 3 for acting like a complete buffoon in Cameron Indoor towards his own fans. So we'll talk about that story as well. But, Chris, I want to start with this because you know, I talk a lot about Fox News hosts that I don't like. Laura Ingraham, for example, I call her the racist, evil Christian witch. You know, I talk a lot about others like Tucker Carlson.
MSNBC host you don't like also.
Yeah, I'll get to that. Tucker Carlson, I think he's just a horrible human being. The idea of white supremacy is a hoax after 22 people lose their lives in El Paso. Just only a bad person would do that. And yeah, MSNBC. I don't personally attack Rachel Maddow, but I don't like her show, and I haven't watched more than 5 minutes of her show in probably 3 years because I think she's boring. I don't like MSNBC. I think their hosts are boring. I never watch that network. I watch Fox News and CNN to try to get both sides. There are some people on Fox News that I respect. There are some people on CNN that I respect. I've never been a Don Lemon fan. Never. I've never liked Don Lemon for a number of different reasons. Yes, first of all, he's extremely biased, number one. Number two, and this is most important.
There's a reason for that.
Okay,
and we'll get to it after you're done here.
But number two, I don't think he's very good on the air. I don't think he's very good in front of the camera. I don't think he has much of any personality. I think he's a softie, and I think he does these stupid sighs and like, Don, do you understand you're on national television? I think he's extremely unprofessional. Well, here's another example of that, and it took place last night, and I want to play it for you. So CNN anchor Don Lemon, he addressed a segment from the weekend that drew criticism from Trump, in which the host laughed and basically mocked supporters of the president in very general terms. So I want to play you this audio. We're going to play it for you in full. It's a little over a minute, and then we're going to comment on it. Here it is.
And obviously it's false. And look, he also knows deep in his heart that Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, you know, an administration defined by ignorance of the world. And so that's partly him playing to their base and playing to their audience, you know, the credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump, that wants to think that Donald Trump's the smart one and y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling, even though
your math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading, you know, your geography, knowing other countries, sipping your latte.
All those lines on the map.
Only them elitists know where Ukraine is. Sorry, I apologize.
But by the way, oh my God!
But you know what? But it was Rick's fault. I blame Rick. But you know, but in all honesty, you know what
Rick.
NPR should do?
Why not? Sorry, hold on. Wait.
Can I tell
give
you
me
what?
a second. Hold on. Sorry.
That was good. Sorry. Rick, that was a good one. I needed that. Okay, so listen.
All right, so that's basically what we're talking about here. And by the way, it's also important to note they were talking about the Pompeo blow-up with the NPR reporter, where Pompeo allegedly swore at this NPR reporter, asked her to, pick out Ukraine on a map. Pompeo's just a pompous prick. Let's just call it what it is. He's another bad guy.
It wasn't alleged, though, right? Pompeo was out of line.
Okay, but listen,
the reporter.
I believe her. Unfortunately, there's no audio to prove it, but I believe her. Pompeo did admit that he yelled at her, but he didn't admit anything else. I'm going on her word here. That's why I say allegedly. Right. And now the State Department has now banned her from covering him, which is utterly ridiculous. This is a reporter who has a track record of being very respectful. She's a tough reporter. So anyway,
let's get back to the Don Lemon thing, right?
That's what I want to do. So when you listen to that Don Lemon stuff, and when people call CNN fake news, I don't agree with them being the enemy of the people. I think there's fake news everywhere. I think many news outlets are biased in their opinions, and that's fine. But when a middle-of-the-road voter listens to something like that, and by the way, they weren't just saying there are some dumb people in the South that are voting for Trump. That would be an accurate statement. There are dumb people everywhere, but that's not what they said. They said they were generalizing as all Trump voters.
No.
Yes,
no,
they
they
were.
weren't.
Yes,
no,
they
weren't.
were.
No.
If you, I'm not going to play it again for you, but yes, they were.
That was exactly the equivalent of what took place with Hillary Clinton when she talked about the deplorables, Brian. What you just heard right there.
Are you defending that?
No. I'm gonna lay it out for you. First of all, he was talking to Rick Wilson. Rick Wilson is a contributor at CNN. Rick Wilson is a former Republican who is now no longer Republican because of Donald Trump and Donald Trump taking over basically the Republican Party. So Rick Wilson started on a riff, where he started blasting people from the South, people with accents, and I think Rick Wilson took it too far. And then Don Lemon jumped on, and they kept going with it. But to me, when I heard that segment, I thought to myself, they're going to get killed because this is going to be just like what happened with Hillary when Hillary mentioned that all of Donald Trump's voters are deplorables.
Okay.
When in fact they are not. It is a small portion. Now there are people, Brian, that are like what was being described there in that segment.
Okay, so
as far as the accents, as far as the stupidity, yes, there are voters that are like that.
And
that
Obama,
are idiots.
when Obama made the comment clinging to guns and religion, it kind of reminded me a little bit of this to an extent. But let me give you my take on this whole thing. First of all, let me be clear on this. If you're one of those Republicans that is just haunted by what took place on the Don Lemon show last night, and you're criticizing Don Lemon and you're criticizing his guests and you're criticizing CNN, but for the last almost 3 years, you've never criticized Donald Trump for going after a woman based on her looks. You've never criticized Donald Trump for the video when he said, grab him by the you-know-what. You've never criticized Donald Trump for going after John McCain or the horrible, insensitive things he does on a daily basis. If you're one of those people that's in Donald Trump's corner and then you're going after Don Lemon and CNN, you have something called zero, and I mean zero, credibility. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to hear from you. If you side by Donald Trump on his every word and you think he's the next Messiah, you have no credibility. With that being said, for the people that do criticize Trump, even if you're a Trump supporter, if you criticize Trump for his rhetoric, the things he says on social media, the actions, his behaviors, then you are more in the right, and you are, in my opinion, you are right to go after Don Lemon and his unprofessionalism. This isn't the first time he had a laughing fit on TV. It's not like you're sitting at a bar making fun of people down south and you're claiming that many of them are dumb and you're having a conversation at a bar. This is national television. You're on CNN and you have a responsibility to be professional. What Don Lemon should have done, which he didn't do, but what he should have done is he should have just moved on and talked about Pompeo and talked about the issue at hand. Shouldn't have taken Kleenexes and wiped his eyes, pretending like he was crying in laughter. It was extremely unprofessional. It makes CNN look bad, and there are actually people that work for CNN that were tweeting last night, remember this day, because if Donald Trump wins in 2020, remember the elitism of some people in the media.
So you're telling me this one episode on CNN, which is a 2-minute segment, is going to have an influence on the 2020 election? You have to be kidding me.
Okay, first of all, I didn't say that. I'm talking about someone who works for CNN that did tweet that out, okay? Number one.
Okay.
Number two, again, I'm not going to change my opinion on this. Don Lemon was wrong. He was unprofessional. I don't like Don Lemon for reasons like this. I don't think he's very good on the air. He's not good on television. I think they should get somebody else in there. Okay, you can disagree with Cuomo, but Cuomo would never do that. When somebody says something, wacky, whether it's extreme left or right, Cuomo usually puts them in check and gets to the actual meat of what they're talking about. Same thing with Anderson Cooper. I think Cooper does that. Jake Tapper does that. Wolf Blitzer's getting kind of old, but I think he does that as well. Don Lemon is the only guy that has these sorts of unprofessional hissy
Brian,
fits.
you know what? There's a reason behind it. It's because the President of the United States has absolutely personally gone after Don Lemon. He said things. He's made comments about Don Lemon on the air. There is something personal between the two. It's not just out of the blue. Okay, Don Lemon is not just making derogatory comments or making fun of voters just because he thinks it's funny or he thinks it's something that he wants to do in the air. There's a reason behind it. It's because Donald Trump has personally gone after Don Lemon.
Okay, so but he wasn't going after the president in much of that. A little bit of that, the start of it he was. But you were going after people down south who have accents and basically making a reference that they're dumb.
They're not going after every single Donald Trump voter.
Okay,
they're not going after every single Donald Trump report. They're going after a segment, of Donald Trump's base, which is like that, okay? But that's why there's going to be no ramifications here, Brian. As far as Don Lemon, as far as Rick Wilson, anybody on there, it's something that people on the right are going to trump it up. And I've seen it the last 2 days on social media about this segment. People are making a huge deal out of it, like something's going to.
That's all
Don
said
Lemon's
and fine.
He's going to be somehow.
Chris, I understand your point.
Yes.
That's all said and fine. My point is it's still unprofessional the way Don Lemon reacted and the way he handled that. Is it a huge deal? No. But it is inappropriate, and it's one of those situations where I say to myself, this is why I don't like Don Lemon. You have to conduct yourself more professional than that. Look, there's plenty of people on Fox News that are complete buffoons, that are unprofessional on a daily basis. But Don Lemon, stop. You can't criticize the right for name-calling, and you can't criticize Donald Trump for name-calling if you're Don Lemon, if you're doing the exact same thing. That's the only point. And he's laughing, and you're mocking a group of people, whether it's true or not. 702-257-5396 is the number to call again if you want to be a part of this conversation. What do you think about this? Do you think Don Lemon's in the right? Is he in the wrong? What do you think, and what took place last night on CNN in this segment? 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Taking your calls right now. We have some phone lines open. Let's go to Pete. Pete, you're first up on the Vegas Take. What do you make of this?
Brian, good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
Hey, listen, I'm a staunch Trump supporter. The guy can do nothing wrong in my eyes. Brady would be like my second lieutenant. But I thought the you and the picture of the crane was hilarious.
Okay.
I thought it was very, very funny. And I think the reason that Don Lemon keeps laughing through the segment, and believe me, I'm no Don Lemon fan, my friend, and you said this is the only thing that CNN's ever done wrong.
No, I didn't say that. Who said that? I never said that.
All right, then I misunderstood.
You absolutely misunderstood.
Yeah, I think what happened was that Don Lemon just got the joke maybe 2 seconds pause later, and it was so funny that it destroyed his interview. And the other guy, well, I mean, we know where he's coming from. But,
okay.
I
appreciate
it was funny.
I appreciate your opinion on that and having a sense of humor. I do as well. But
Brian, I think we need your side too. I mean, everything you bring up, you're not an idiot, okay? And people out there calling you, whatever. I love the word buffoon.
The old backhanded compliment right there.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Used the word, Brian. I actually used the word in context once. The word persnickety.
I got you. Okay, I like that. Pete. Well, Pete, I appreciate.
I'm a wordsmith, man.
I appreciate
doing radio. You guys are great.
Thank you, Pete.
Somebody else here on the line.
Thank you, Pete. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that you're a Trump supporter and you're actually defending Don Lemon and CNN. I think that shows a little honesty on your part, and I do appreciate that. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Thomas. Thomas, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, gentlemen? How are you guys today?
Good. What do you think about this?
Good. I disagree with the way he said it and what he said, but in the end, he's just taken a play right out of Trump's playbook. Trump has made it, and I'm a Trump supporter. I've called in multiple times and said that I'm a Trump supporter, but I am in 100% agreement in that Trump has made this okay. going after people and calling people names and bullying people because of the way they think or the things that they say or the way they vote has become the new rhetoric in this country.
Can I just interject real quickly? I don't disagree with you, but let me interject quickly and say this. There is a fine line between Don Lemon and somebody who is on a network and the President of the United States. The President of the United States should set the tone. The President of the United States should show respect towards others, even if they disrespect him. It is called not being thin-skinned and showing the fact that you're a leader. I hate to bring up Kobe Bryant here, but I'm going to. Many mocked Kobe Bryant. But the reason why everyone calls Kobe Bryant a leader on and off the floor because he didn't belittle other people like that unless it was trash talking on the court. And Donald Trump seems to think it's okay to trash talk in his personal life, trash talk when the cameras aren't around or when they're around. And he's the President of the United States. Do you see the distinction between that and a member of the media?
I don't disagree with you at all. But like I said, Don Lemon was basically just hitting back at Trump for all of the stuff that Trump spews towards CNN. I think the comments were disgusting. As a Trump supporter, I'm a working guy. I am not, from the South or, trash. So I think those type of comments are disgusting and they don't accurately describe a Trump supporter, but he at this point it's what he thinks is the way to go, and that's what everyone thinks is the way to go in the media and on social media and stuff like that, and it's disgusting.
Well, sadly, it's the day and age we are living in today, Thomas. I appreciate the phone call. I do think it starts with the President of the United States.
Let me stop you guys really quickly and clarify something here, okay? It wasn't Don Lemon who initiated all this,
it was his guest.
It was Rick Wilson who was his guest on the air, and Rick Wilson went on a riff, and Don Lemon played off of it. So let's not just portray this in a way that's not the way it went down. Don Lemon did not say anything. Okay, that was inflaming.
Anyone knows
Don Lemon is not going to face any consequences
for
what went down in that 2-minute segment.
Anyone who watched it understands that it's the way Don Lemon reacted.
Well, no, Brian, anyone who watches it don't, because there's people that are coming on here and making comments like, Don Lemon said this, and Don Lemon blasted the president.
Okay.
That's not what happened.
Don Lemon didn't say anything.
Well, we got to make that clear.
Okay, it was his reaction. 257-5396 is the number to call. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on? Thank you for the call, Mike. Appreciate that. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Brady. Brady, you're next up. What's up?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. I finally agree with you, Brian. First time ever in the history of this show that I can't stand Don Lemon either. And that libtard to talk about our president like that is just sickening. And the way the media...
It was Rick Wilson. He's not a libtard. He's a former Republican who's now currently an independent.
Does he act like a Republican just because they have the Republican name? Just like John...
He's not a Republican anymore, though. But Brady, he's not a Republican anymore. He's a former Republican. But he's not a liberal.
He's like a rhino. They call them rhinos. We don't want him in the Republican Party anyways. And it's funny because here you got a guy like Donald Trump doing a peace deal with Bibi Netanyahu, and on the other channel you got that idiot like Lemon saying how stupid he is. Isn't that kind of irony at its finest?
Can I ask you a question?
You know how to say his last name, right?
Hold on.
You're just doing it just to irritate people.
Hold on, Chris. Let me ask you a question, Brady. I agree that Don Lemon didn't react appropriately, but let me ask you a question. When Fox News called Barack Obama names for 8 years, and some of the guests on that network were going after Barack Obama, calling him Hussein, calling him a terrorist. I would hope that you didn't agree with that type of rhetoric either. Can I assume that correctly?
Not all the rhetoric, but whatever he did have coming to him, it was appropriate.
No, that's not what I asked you. I said there are people on Fox News that name-called Barack Obama, that called him a terrorist, Hussein, wasn't born in this country. Were you? And I'm asking
Donald Trump said he was the founder of ISIS.
I understand.
The founder of ISIS.
So I'm... Excuse me, Brady?
He was.
Brady
thinks he was.
Okay, hold on, Chris.
Yeah, he was behind all the arms to ISIS.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
He's the founder of ISIS, Brady?
Okay, hold on, Chris. Hold on.
All the arms got to ISIS?
Stop. Everybody, stop talking for a second. Brady, you are telling me, Brady, right now on KDWN that you believe, and I'm asking you to be honest now. I know that you like to joke around, but this is not a funny matter. You are telling me that you believe that Barack Obama was the head of ISIS?
He along with John McShane, were the arms dealers that supplied the ISIS and all the factions of ISIS their weapons.
All right. Have a nice day, Brady. We're not going to listen to your right-wing buffoonery. Have a nice day. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mark. Mark, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Yes. Trump supporters aren't necessarily dumb, certainly, but many of them are racist and bigoted and have other issues. And
some are dumb, though, right? Some are.
That's what he said.
There's a fair number. I believe your last caller was a sterling example of somebody who's off the rails. So there is that. But I would note that I don't understand the support for Trump in this sense. This is a man who reflexively lies about various things every day. In fact, there's a whole website devoted to enumerating those, and he's well over 16,000. So I don't understand what they think they're supporting.
Well, look, here's what I think. Here's what I think, Mark. I agree with you that Donald Trump is a blatant liar. He lies on a regular basis. I don't think that's up for debate. But here's what I think. I think there are reasonable Republicans and unreasonable Republicans. The reasonable ones vote for Trump because maybe they have more money in their pocket. They like some of his policies, but they hate his rhetoric and they don't like the man that is Donald Trump. The unreasonable Republicans, like our last caller, are the ones that say Trump can do no wrong, and they're the ones that Hillary Clinton was talking about when she called them deplorables. So when we come back, there's a statement from Don Lemon. Talking about the segment last night. He is defending it. He is defending his actions and the actions on the show last night. We're going to read that out, and we're going to take more of your phone calls. That number is 702-257-5396. Talking about CNN, Don Lemon reaction. Again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program, 257-5396. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro on a Wednesday. Glad you could join us. J.D. Sharp has graced us with his presence. J.D., you missed the first segment. We were talking about...
I actually heard it on the way up.
Graced with presence.
So we're talking a little bit about Don Lemon and the segment he did last night, mocking Trump voters from the South. And I wanted to reset it for you, play it for you again, and then we're going to take your response on it. This was Don Lemon last night doing a segment with a few guests, and there's a lot of conservatives, a lot of people on the right are not happy with it. Here it is.
And obviously it's false. And look, he also knows deep in his heart that Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, an administration defined by ignorance of the world. And so that's partly him playing to their base and playing to their audience, the credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump, that wants to think that Donald Trump's the smart one, and y'all elitists are dumb.
Is that Don in the background?
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling.
Yeah, it's Don laughing.
Even though my math,
and you're reading.
Yeah, you're reading. Your geography, knowing other countries, sipping your latte.
All those lines on the map.
Only them elitists know where Ukraine is. Sorry, I apologize.
I mean, I feel like this
but
conversation...
Oh, my God.
But you know what? But it was Rick's fault. I blame Rick. But in all honesty...
Blame
you know what
Rick.
NPR should
Why
do?
not? Sorry, hold on. Wait.
Can I tell
give
you
me
what,
a second. Hold on. Sorry. That was good. Sorry. Rick, that was a good one. I needed that. Okay, so listen.
Okay, so listen. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give out the number. And we want to get your reaction on this for you listeners out there. Do you think Don Lemon was out of line? Do you think his guest was out of line? Do you agree, disagree? We'll take your phone calls at 702-257-5396. I've made it evident, JD, that I'm not a big Don Lemon guy.
Yeah, I heard it.
I don't like his show. I think he's very snooty. But more importantly, I don't think he's just very good on the air. Just like I don't think Rachel Maddow's good on the air. I don't think Laura Ingram's good on the air.
I think the problem with the very, very left-wing media folk like Maddow and Lemon is that they believe that whatever they think and whatever they do is the right way. And if you don't agree with them, you are completely wrong and you are completely complicit, and in this case, you are completely stupid. I'm surprised that this conversation actually took place on air. This sounds to me more like a conversation that would happen maybe at a bar, maybe at one of those elitist dinners. The fact that they let this slip on air was not a great thing for Don Lemon. And actually, I was happy to hear you kind of disagree with Chris for the first time in the history of Vegas Take Radio.
Wait, time out. You're telling me and Brian Shapiro don't disagree on the air?
That's not
We've
true.
done it many times.
I'm obviously being very facetious about that.
Well, listen to it, but here's what I said.
But I don't think Don Lemon realizes, I think he thinks that 99.9%, and obviously Rick Wilson, they think that 99.9% of America think the same way that they do, and that is just not the case.
Okay,
and liberals and the elitist liberal mindset and the elitist liberal media, they're totally out of touch with reality on what the public actually thinks and what the public actually does.
Okay, but hold on.
And making Trump supporters, basically what they do is they're painting Trump supporters as bumbling fools who can't read a map or read in general. To me, is pretty disgusting. But I appreciated the call from Thomas, who I know pretty well, last segment. And I agree with him. It is kind of how media is now. That everybody takes shots at each other, and the president has made it okay to do that.
Okay, but with that being said, I also made the point, and we'll get to your phone calls in a second here. I also made the point, and I know you're not one of these people, but I made the point that if you're a Trump supporter and you're on the right and you've never criticized Donald Trump for anything and you're totally okay with him going after women on appearance, going after POWs, then you're not credible, and I don't want to hear your opinion on this.
And
you agree with that, correct?
And that's just standard because no one is perfect. And Donald Trump is far from perfect. And if you think that Donald Trump or anyone for that matter is perfect, then clearly you're not thinking clearly.
Hold on. We all know nobody's perfect.
Yes. Okay, right.
Okay. With that being said, you don't have to be perfect to know that you don't go after our women based on appearances when you're the president of the United States, or even when you're not the president, just a regular person. You don't go after Nancy Pelosi's teeth. You don't go after POWs. There's a far cry between nobody's perfect and just having a blatant disrespect towards people. So the reason why I bring this up is this. I'm not defending Don Lemon. I don't like his show. I'm not defending the guest. I don't like his comments. The point I'm trying to make is very simple, and I'll say it again. If you've never criticized Donald Trump for his blatant disrespect towards women, POWs, etc., but all of a sudden you're up over arms in regards to Don Lemon and CNN, you have zero credibility. Let's go to the calls. Let's see what you think. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis, you're first up. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Lewis?
Hey, guys. I have not listened to you guys since, I don't know, since the last time I triggered somebody on your show, the host primarily, but that's okay. I just happen to be on, and, you still haven't, the left has still not figured it out. And the fact that you're still talking about Donald Trump,
we're talking about Don Lemon. Why don't you pay attention? Why don't you pay attention to what we're talking about?
Please.
Please what?
You need to spit it out. You're kind of dragging along here. We need to hear exactly what your point is.
Go ahead,
What's your point, Lewis?
Go ahead.
The point is the media and Don Lemon haven't figured it out. Okay?
That's your point?
Insulting half the voters.
So let me ask you a question, Lewis. Laura Ingraham and Tucker Carlson, have they figured it out? Because they're just as biased to the right, maybe even more biased than Don Lemon is to the left. Has the right figured it out? Has Fox News figured it out? Has Sean Hannity and Mark Levin figured it out? Or would you only hold on? Or would you only decide to criticize the left?
If you watch, they criticize the behavior of the left. They don't insult the voter.
That is, excuse me, that is absolutely ridiculous. Do you even watch Fox News? And by the way, don't you give me this crap that you don't listen to. Excuse me, you started this conversation by saying, I haven't listened to you guys in a long time because I triggered your host. You know what? If you don't like that, then go listen to a show that agrees with everything that you think about and you have to say. Guess what? You're a no.
You know what, Lewis? I agree with you, though. The left has not figured it out, and clearly Don Lemon hasn't either.
So you don't listen to somebody because you disagree with them? Do you know how you sound when you say something like that? Go listen to your beloved Fox News then. Go ahead.
You hang up on me for no reason.
Have I hung up on you? I've kept you on for 3 or 4 minutes. You haven't made one point in 4 minutes.
And I will say this, Lewis, your phone is a little,
first of all,
it's in and out. It's not
First
great.
of all, you're on an Obama phone. Second of all, you've insulted the show. And third of all, you haven't made one good solid point that anyone over the IQ of 40 would have made.
I don't think he's insulted the show.
Yes, he has. I don't need your stupid backhanded compliments. I just ran into your show. You didn't run into your show. Let me tell you something, Lewis. You programmed 720 into your radio. You listen to my show every day. Hey, you're a frickin' liar. That's who you are. You love our show. You can't take not listening to our show. You dummy. 702-257-5396
Really good call,
is the
Lewis.
number to call.
JD, one thing Lewis did right there, he triggered the host again.
Yep.
He got
Yep.
Bryant fired up again.
All right, let's go to
Time.
Kevin, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Hey guys, it's just I think the lady a couple of calls before said it that the president, he set the tone, and Donald Trump is laying this stuff out there all the time, and now it's it's the norm now. But it's really like also the right. You guys people on the right are always talking about they hate political correctness and all this stuff right here. This is what you get. You get TV shows or stations cutting loose and just getting beside themselves because there's just so much visceral hate towards each other and animosity.
The problem with this, Kevin. The problem with this, Kevin, is that there are the people. There are folks who really can't read a map, or who can't read, or who are we'll say the word not very educated. They may live in mobile homes or something like that in small town Alabama, and they may support Donald Trump. But when Don Lemon and Rick Wilson do that, they are taking the actions of the few and applying them to label the many. And to me, that's completely wrong.
Number to call again if you want to be a part of the program, 702-257-5396. I believe we've had a lot of people call in on their Obama phones today. Maybe we can have somebody call in on a Trump phone. 702-257-5396. Again, the number to call. Let's go to Bob. Bob, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on, Bob?
Hey, what's up, Bob?
Hey, what's going on, Brian and JD?
Not much, man. What's on your mind?
So, I watched the video of what took place yesterday, and yeah, I was kind of disgusted and offended as a Trump supporter. However, I do not like when Trump speaks.
Mm-hmm.
Just do and be quiet is what we need him to do,
right?
As a president. And I think yesterday, the basketball coach you had on, I can't remember his name, but he pretty much summed it up in the first couple of minutes when you asked him about politics, and that this was a PR stunt,
right?
And Trump is exposing what's there in Washington. Like, I never really knew up until he became president what actually goes on there.
Yeah.
And I think that's really offended a lot of, left people, which is why they're just off the rocker about everything going on. And I don't like Tucker Carlson. Laura Ingraham, just looking at her annoys me.
Listen, Bob, we agree. Bob, let me ask you a question, Bob. See, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because I wish more people thought like you, because you sound like a very reasonable guy. Sadly, there are very few of you out there. There are very few of you that might be a Trump supporter that will call out Trump for the horrible things he says. You're credible. I respect your opinion on CNN, and by the way, I agree with you. But why is it, do you think, that there are so many people on the right, unlike you, that fail to criticize the president for the horrible things he says on a regular basis?
The only reason why I could say that is because he's given them a platform to stand up. I mean, it's like their tinfoil hats are on a little crooked, and they're it's kind of like that coming out of the closet thing. They think it's okay to just go out.
Wait, are you talking? Don't talk about Lindsey Graham that way, please.
To just go out and speak your mind. Now, I mean, look, I can paint you a quick picture of my ideal of a president.
Yes,
would be I liked President Obama as a person, not as.
So you're saying Obama's heart.
I am with this guy 150%. He's echoing everything I say every day.
Obama's heart. Whose brain? Whose brain would you want?
Obama. That guy is just he oozes intelligence. He's a very smart man.
Yeah.
And if we could have an intelligent like Obama and the policies and the exposing like Trump, we would be rock solid as a country, and nobody could say anything.
I think I understand.
So the street sense of Trump.
I'm going to use one of my analogies right now.
Obama.
If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, what a Merry Christmas we would all have, okay? you just said that Barack Obama's a smart man. You just said that you like Barack Obama as a man, but apparently you don't like him. You don't like his policy because he's a Democrat,
Chris,
right?
have you copyrighted that?
No, I mean
phrase?
his policies did a lot of damage. It hurt. I mean, and I was on the receiving end when it comes to just that stupid Obamacare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, Bob.
I mean,
Bob, I agree with you.
That really hurt.
Yeah.
Bob,
Obamacare was not about trying to hurt the American people.
It was about destroying small
when
businesses.
It comes to health,
and
when
helping
it comes to
corporations.
healthcare, though, you guys, it should be a bipartisan thing.
Chris, was Obamacare successful?
Obamacare is still in place. If I'm not mistaken,
is it successful?
I think that there needs to be modifications to it, JD.
Well,
listen,
we can talk about.
You're asking me a loaded question,
Bob,
but I think
I agree, Bob. I think Laura Ingraham has a stress-inducing face as well.
Hey, Bob. Let me.
She just listening to her. It just doesn't make sense.
The left.
The people are on the left, and I mean, I listen. Look, I keep your station on all day long. I listen to you from 9 to 12. I listen to Hannity from 12 to 3, and Mark Levin from 3 to 6.
We're gonna so you're not hearing from anybody on the left because this isn't really a left-wing show, and everything else is not left-wing by any stretch of the imagination.
Hang on. But see, I wasn't going to agree with. I don't agree. Sean Hannity, I just kind of like him, but God, he repeats himself like a broken record.
He does like to slam it home.
His entire show day in and day out. But however, I do think Mark Levin is pretty damn smart.
He's been on our show
Mark
before.
Levin is smart.
Yep. Yeah. Mark's a very bright guy.
He's pretty smart, and I think he knows a lot.
Well, Bob, listen, Bob.
I think he has some type of very expensive whiskey in his bunker.
Bob, I got to get to some other callers, my friend. But if you're running for office, you got my vote, my friend. I appreciate the phone call.
Great call, Bob.
I do. 702-257.
I think we need to, Brian. We need to tone down this faux outrage, okay? When it comes to this 2-minute segment.
Let me just give out the number first, man. 702-257-5396. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I think we need to tone it down with the fake outrage of you people saying how disgusting it was, the segment. 95% of the segment, let's characterize it like it was. 95% of that segment was Rick Wilson, someone who is a never-Trumper. He hates Trump. Okay, he initiated most of that. You guys are trying to spin it on like it's Don Lemon who's going after Donald Trump.
Just because you hate
I'm not
Donald
saying
Trump,
you guys. I'm saying the listeners out there and the people on the right.
Just because you hate Donald Trump doesn't mean you can try to label his entire.
They didn't.
Base
he didn't. Did he label
as literally
JD,
borderline functionally?
He was talking about a small portion of people from the South that are like that. It was in my opinion, it was a funny segment.
Right, let's go back to the funny. Let's go back to the calls.
Parts that were kind of fun.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Taylor. Taylor, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Taylor?
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
For full disclosure, I'm a complete, total, and utter conservative, a forever Trumper. But I thought that interaction between Don Lemon and the two guests was hilarious.
I did too.
I mean, where have we gotten in our culture where we can't laugh at ourselves and we can't laugh at each other? We on the right get so outraged at this little outburst. We're doing the exact same thing the left does when the right makes fun of them. You know, enough of this cancel culture because the right was being very cancel culture with that. How dare they make fun of rednecks? Dude. I'm a redneck. It was hilarious.
Well, I will say this, Taylor. One of my favorite comedians of all time is Jeff Foxworthy, and I love it how he starts off you might be a redneck. I mean, I like some of the jokes he has. Foxworthy's funny. I understand where you're coming from, Taylor. Point well taken. I do think we are too sensitive as a society, but I do think the president needs to set the bar and be a little bit more serious than an entertainment talk show. I would hope you would agree with that.
I love the things Donald Trump does. I hate the things he says.
Yeah, amen.
I wish he would just take that phone and break it. Because
amen, brother.
Just get to work and shut up.
Amen, brother. That's back-to-back really good phone calls. I'm shocked. Yeah. Taylor, I appreciate your thoughts. I point well taken. We are a little bit too sensitive as a society. Let's go to Jim. By the way, the number to call, 702-257-5396. Jim, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Yes, good morning, guys.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I've called in a couple times. I've run political campaigns for 42 years, so I'm 62 years old. And you have guys like me involved in getting U.S. senators and governors elected who know how to manipulate the media.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I listen to these phone calls that are coming in. It's like a game show. I mean, look, do you think that any of these guys could go to work, now backtrack it now, when it was just ABC, CBS, and NBC?
No.
Do you actually think that any of these guys from Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN could actually work for the top three networks?
Probably not.
Back in the 80s.
Probably not, Jim.
You believe that?
No,
so, and now,
I don't.
Well,
I
you're
don't.
You're in the media business.
Yes, sir.
So you're also in the entertainment business.
Yes, sir. Jim, can I just add something real quick, and then you can tell me if you agree or not? I think we'll all agree on this. The one objective of these shows are ratings. Why? Because ratings equal money.
Mm-hmm.
The media is about making money. Make no mistake about it. Donald Trump makes these networks money because he's a ratings getter. Now, I'm sure you would agree they're doing everything they can to get ratings. Now, with that being said, we can only speak for ourselves here. I can only speak for myself, and I will.
Also have to understand something from a guy like me who's ran campaigns. You know who I am. I'm a very close friend of Michael Avenatti. I've called in a couple times. You have to understand something about the manipulation, what we do. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
My people were the ones that engineered. Do you remember when Larry King had George Bush and he was interviewing him? And the phone call came in from George Stephanopoulos on live TV?
Well, I'll even
remember that.
Jim. Hold on, Jim. I'll even take it a step further. We had Kim Goldman, the brother of the late Ronald Goldman, on our show about 6 or 7 months ago. Right in the middle of that interview, we had O.J. Simpson's attorney, Malcolm Laverne, call in right in the middle of the show. So we know exactly what you are talking about. That was explosive, and I felt bad for Kim Goldman. But those things happen when you're.
I'm going to make one other point. You got to remember one thing: Tim Russert is not around.
Right.
Bernard Shaw is not around.
Yep.
Jennings is not around. Koppel's not around. The people that are listening to on your show, they don't even know who they are.
Yeah. Well, sadly.
Let me explain something to you about what's happening and politically, because I've done
Okay, quickly, because we got to get to some other calls, my friend.
Okay. Let me tell you what Richard Nixon once said, and this is what these hardheads don't understand. The American people will vote for someone that they dislike, but they won't vote for someone that dislikes them. And this is what you understand what I just said?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So basically what you're saying is nobody's going to vote for Donald Trump if they're gay, if they're a female, or if they're a minority. Now, we know that's not true, but the things that Donald Trump has said.
The point of the matter is that if you got certain individuals on, look, the Democratic Party is so left of John Lennon now it's not funny. The Republican Party is so right of Pat Buchanan, it's ridiculous.
You're right.
But when you have somebody like Don Lemon, who's going to alienate certain people because he just doesn't like them,
right?
It doesn't accomplish anything what he thinks he's accomplishing.
No, listen, Jim, make no mistake about it. I point well taken. And you're right. People usually are not going to vote for you if they think that you do not like them. I agree.
And you mentioned how the media and how Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon wouldn't stand a chance with on the other stations, and how a lot of our listeners don't know who Jennings are. I find that totally hard to believe considering the age of a lot of our listeners. But one thing that separates our show from a standard left-wing or a right-wing show is that these sponsors that are sponsoring those shows, they're doing that because the viewers of these shows are purchasing those products, and they're making statements. They're saying the things that the sponsors want them to say. We are not ever doing that.
The guy that is
like
standing,
for example, Mike Lindell, who has been creeping behind me for the better part of 5 months now.
He's over JD's show.
Right. So for the people that have no idea who Mike Lindell is, Mike Lindell is the My Pillow guy. We have a cardboard cutout of Mike Lindell, not because we support this nut job, but because we make fun of him. And here's why. Here's exactly what JD was just talking about, and I agree with him. If you recall, the racist evil witch, also known as Laura Ingraham, did her show several months back. Actually, this is probably more like a year ago. And this was not that long after the Parkland shooting, and she made fun of David Hogg because of David Hogg's stance on gun control. And she decided to personally go after David Hogg and made fun of his grades, if you recall. And then she had a half-hearted apology because it was some Christian holiday. And she, and like 8 or 9 of her sponsors had dropped out. Well, guess what sponsor doubled up? Guess what sponsor who calls himself this great Christian? Guess who doubled up on her show? It was Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell decided to advertise more on the Laura Ingraham show because he is a nut job, and the same guy who said God brought us Donald Trump. Yes, anybody who says God brought us Donald Trump is a nut, JD.
That may be true, but it was a smart business decision for him to do that, and that's what these sponsors and advertisers do. No one is paying us X amount of dollars to sway what we're saying, and our show always, most of the time, gives both sides of the equation, the right-wing opinion, the left-wing opinion, and if you call into our show, you have an open forum to be on either side.
Well, I will say this. I never considered myself giving a left-wing opinion, and I don't think there are many.
Okay, we'll call it the anti-Donald Trump or the pro-Donald Trump.
That's fine. I'm okay with that, but I don't think there are many liberals you could find out there that would start off a show going after Don Lemon as I have. I'm also not a fan of Rachel Maddow. I never watch MSNBC because I think they suck. I watch two sides, CNN and Fox News, and then I form my own opinions. The problem with the media today is there are some ignorant people out there. Well, they'll watch one network or the other. They'll listen to something that Tucker Carlson says, and they'll believe it, and they'll only go by what he says. Or they'll listen to something Don Lemon says, same thing. Sometimes people are not educated or smart enough to make their own decisions, so they'll listen to a right-winger harp on something every day, and they will believe it.
Or they'll call themselves a conservative because they check 3 boxes that a conservative is supposed to check. Or the same thing with a Democrat, as opposed to looking at the situation from a totally circumstantial standpoint and how it affects their life.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, Chris Wynn joining us in studio along with J.D. Sharp. I'm Brian Shapiro. This is going to be a very interesting interview coming up next, an exclusive interview. Certainly, I know nobody in the Vegas area has interviewed this guy. He is Kobe Bryant's former helicopter pilot. 2015 to 2017, very recently. His name is Kurt Dietz, and it is my understanding is he knew the pilot who was flying that helicopter the other day. So this could be a riveting interview here. I believe it will be. Also, former Mayor Oscar Goodman will be joining us at the bottom of the hour, and he's going to be talking to us about what Kobe Bryant meant to him and what he meant to the city of Las Vegas. That's all coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Tape.